guys, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel once again. I remain your girl C Concept. I want to say a massive thank you to all my viewers, my subscribers, my lovers all over the world. You are the best. Thank you for supporting me. So in today's tutorial, I shall be showing you how to draft a straight skirt with back slits. Okay, sometimes we call it a open slit. Okay. Now, the basic measurements I'll be working with are my bust span, my waist circumference, my hip line, my hip circumference, my knee line, and the length of the skirt. Okay, so with this pattern, drafting pattern, you can use it for long skirt if you want to extend it, and you can as well use it for short skirt. Okay, so let's get into it. See, I've placed the pattern on fold, and I place it on fold with the biggest part of my skirt, which is a hip. Okay, so the 1/4 of my hip, that is what I use to place the pattern on fold. And if you are wondering how to place your 1/4, how to use your 1/4, how to arrive at your 1/4, I will put the link of the video in my description box. Okay, go and watch it. I use a pidgin English. I know you will enjoy it. Okay, so now as you can see, I've placed the basic measurements. This is the starting line, which is the waist, this is the hip, and this is the knee, and this is the length of my skirt. Okay, the length of my skirt is 28, including the band. Okay, it's 28. So here I have a 26. I have 26 because the band will be 2 inches long. Okay, so I've deducted the band from it, so I'm now left with a 26 inches length. Okay, so from this waistline to this place, I have my hip line. Okay, remember we have deducted the band, so and the original hip line is 10 inches length. So minus 2, what we have here will be left with 8 inches, and I added half an inch to it, making 8.5. So from the starting line, which is the waistline, down to the knee line, I have a 17. Originally, my above the knee was 19 inches. Remember, we have deducted the band, which is 2 inches. We are now left with 17.5. Okay, down to the length of the skirt, which is 26. Okay, but all together with the band will be equal to 28. Okay, so now my waist circumference, we are going to place our measurements now. My waist circumference is 46. 1/4 of it will be 11.5. Okay, 11.5. Remember, we are going to add a dart to it, and our darts will be 1 inch. So 11.5 plus 1 inch, that gives us a 12.5. So I will place my 12.5 here from this starting edge. Okay, I will place 12.5. So to the hip line, we will place our hip circumference. The 1/4 of my hip here is 13 inches. Okay, and I will place it because the dart will not be extending to the hip line. Okay, so I will place my 13 inches like this. Remember, this is the front piece of the skirt. Okay, this is the front piece. So to the knee line, whatever you have on your hip line, just take away. Remember, on the knee line of every skirt, it always goes in. Okay, it's always deeper than the hip. Okay, and also it depends on how curvy you are. Okay, you from the knee line. Okay, if you want to go deep or you want to go deeper, you could deduct 1.5 inches from your hip, from the 1/4 of your hip, and you could deduct 1 inch. You could deduct 2 inches. Okay, but for this tutorial, I will be deducting 1 inch from my hip, 1/4 of my hip. Okay, so remember, the 1/4 of our hip is 13 inches. Okay, so I'll be taking away 1. I'll be left with 12 inches. I will now place the 12 inches on the knee line. Okay, like this. So whatever you have on your knee line, just place it on the skirt length, okay? So 12 inches. And when you are done, you connect the lines together. The dots, you connect it together. So this is how it's going to look after connecting it together. So the next thing we are going to do now is to add our allowance, okay? You place your allowance, okay? This at this point, it depends on what you want. It might be 2 inches, it might be 1.5 inches, it might be 3 inches, it might be 1 inch, okay? So here I'll be placing 2 inches round. 2 inches from the waistline, hip line 2 inches, knee line 2 inches, and the skirt length 2 inches. I'll connect all the points together as well. So we are almost done. Place our circumference. The next thing we are going to do now is to place our darts. How do you place your darts? There are different methods you could use, okay? But for this tutorial, I'll be using my boss span, okay? So my boss span is 9 inches, and I will divide it by 2. 9 inches divided by 2 is equal to 4.5. Then I will be joining it with 1/2 inch. That makes it 5 inches. So from this edge, from this folded edge, I'll be placing 5 inches. Okay, I will go in by 5 inches. So like this. Remember, this is the front piece of the skirt. So on the hip line, always go up by 2 inches. Okay, always go up by 2 inches. For example, if you are making a blouse, basic blouse as well, always go up by 2 inches. Okay, if you are not using the bustier, if you are using this normal darts, always go up by 2 inches at the front piece of your blouse or skirt. So this is it. Then we now take our 5 inches again. 5 inches. So this is where it stops. So I will now connect it. So on the 5 inches line, on both sides of that line, I will take 1/2 inch, okay, on both sides, like this. Then I'll connect it to the down part of the darts, like this, like this. So we are done with the front now, almost done. So assuming this is your fabric, what you do is that you notch the center line of the dart. You notch it. When you do that, it will reflect on the other side of the skirt. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do, remember our skirt at the front, the waist is not a straight, okay, it's like a oval shape. So what we are going to do at this starting line is that from this starting line, I will come down by 1/2 inch, okay, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, like this. Then I'll connect it again. It's like we are creating another starting line. So having done that, so from the first starting line, you will now curve it to this part, not to the down starting, not to the new line we just ruled. Okay, you curve it, okay, like so. Just give it a curve. Remember, we are still on the same line, so the curve will just come from the allowance, where the allowance stop. Okay, so this new line, the new line we came down with half an inch will be the starting line. Okay, will be your allowance, sorry. So the next thing we are going to do now, we are going to cut it out. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do, I will place the back piece. So as you can see now, I've placed the back piece of the skirt. Okay, and remember, this is the back is going to have a zip. So this line you are seeing here is the zip. Okay, is the zip line. Okay, so and this is what we have here as well. This is the zip line. From this folded edge to this part is the zip line. So the amount of zip line I have here is 1.5 inches. It's not constant. Okay, like I said, yours could be different from mine. Okay, yours could be 2 inches, yours could be 1 inch. Okay, yours could be, you know, like 2.5 inches, but what I have here is 1.5 inches. From this folded edge to this line is 1.5. So like we did at the front piece, we have our waistline, which is the starting line, the hip line, the knee line, and the length of the skirt. So the next thing we are going to do now is to place same measurements we did at the front. Okay, remember the 1/4 of our waist was 11.5. Okay, and plus the dart we are going to place as well. The dart is 1 inch. That will become a 12.5 inches. Okay, you place it here like so. And when you are taking your measurement for the back, always start from the zip line. Don't start at the folded edge. Okay, so place your measurement from this line, from the zipper line. Okay, so what I have here now is 12 inches including the dart allowance. So on the hip line, the 1/4 of my hip is 13 inches. I will place it like this. So remember, whatever you have on your hip, just go down by it and place it on your knee line. Okay, like we did at the front piece, we took away 1 inch from the hip, from the 1/4 of our hip. Okay, remember the 1/4 of our hip is 13. When you take away 1, we'll be left with 12 inches. So that 12 inches, I'll place it on the knee line. 12 inches. And whatever you place on the knee line, just place it at the down part of the skirt. 12 inches. So I'll connect the dots together. So the next thing we are going to do now is to place our dart like we did at the front piece. Same thing we place, which is 5 inches. Remember, the bust span was 9 inches divided by 2. That makes it 4.5 plus half an inch for joining equal to 5 inches. So we'll go in from this zipper line, we'll go in by 5 inches. And remember, this is the back piece of the skirt. Okay, so from the hip line at the back piece, we'll be going up by 1 inch. Okay, that is the standard. Okay, 1 inch, you go up by 1 inch. So you place your 5 inches to meet the 1 inch you go up with on the hip line. Okay, you now connect it. So the same way we did on both sides of the dart line, I'll be placing a half an inch, okay? And I'll connect it to the darts, where the dart line ends, like this. Extend it. So, like I said, when you are done, you notch the middle line, which is the dart line itself. You notch it. When you do that, it will reflect on the other side of the folded part of the same skirt you are cutting, okay? So, the next thing we are going to do now is to place our allowance. Remember, at the front piece, it was 2 inches. So, at the starting line of our back is going to remain like that because the back is straight, okay? Now, at this zipper line, you may decide to leave it the way it is at this zipper line, but if you want to give the hip line a bit of shape for the hip to be able to sit properly, you could just, from this starting line, you go in by half an inch. You go in by half an inch, okay? You go in by half an inch, then you connect it to the hip line. This is the hip line, okay? You just connect it to the hip line like this, okay? And when you get to the knee line as well, you go in by half an inch, okay? Go in by half an inch. Go in by half an inch. And you draw it down, okay? That's it. So it will make the back part of it to sit properly. So the next thing we are going to do now is to cut it out, okay? Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, okay? Don't forget to like it, don't forget to share it if you find this video helpful. And if you have not joined this family, just hit on the red icon down below. It is free of charge, like I would always say, free of charge, okay? So we are going to cut these parts. The part we came in with half an inch, just give it a little bit of slant down to the hip line. Then you trim it down again like this. Sorry. Trim it down like this. So we are done. Then another thing, if your skirt, remember we are going to add a slit to hit at the back, open slit. So definitely it's going to stop here. Let me measure it. Your slit is between I think it's between 7 and 8. Yeah, it should be between 7 and 8. It depends on how you want it. It might be shorter than this, okay? But I believe 7 to 8 is okay, okay? So this is the back piece. So we'll set this aside now. We'll take the band. Remember the waist is 46. So whenever you are making your skirt and you want to apply band to it, always go down by half an inch. Okay, whatever circumference you have, go down by half an inch or 3/4. Okay, why? Because it will give the band a firm effect, okay, on your waist. Okay, so if you make it the normal size, it's going to be, you know, a bit loose and you won't like it. So you go down by half an inch or 3/4. So my band now, remember, is 46. So I'm not going to add allowance to it. I will use that 46 including the allowance. I will just take 1/4 on both sides. That is what I'm going to do. So this is the cutout of my band. Anyway, the whole length here is not up to 46. But if I want to cut it on fabric, I will definitely make it 46. Okay, I just use this as a, you know, to give illustration. So, but this is how wide is going to be on fabric. So I'm making, remember, the length of my band is 2 inches. Okay, and I added half an inch to it, make it 2.5. So when you open it like this, you have a 5 inches. Okay, by width is 5 inches. Okay, by length is 46. Okay, so when I fold it up, after taking half an inch on both sides like this, I'll take half an inch on both sides. Okay, remember it was 5 inches. So after taking half an inch like this, I'll be left with 2 inches. Okay, so this is how it's going to look. Okay, so this is it. Let's measure it now. You see, I have a 2 inches. So this is how it's going to be. We are done with today's tutorial. If you have found it helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to share. I want to hear your comments, your view in the comment section. Love you all. Bye.